What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. All right, so today we're actually gonna put down our first application here on my new lawn, and we're actually gonna put down something that most of you are probably gonna be surprised that I'm actually using, and that is a weed and feed.
Well, welcome back, my friends, to another dominating episode of the Lawn Care Nut. Today we're talking about all of the things related to putting down fertilizer on the lawn, including the much anticipated answer to the question, Alan, what spreader setting do I use? With that in mind, let's get right out into the lawn.
Now don't worry, we're gonna use our old buddy Milo. Haven't gone away from that. But I'm gonna show you the one time when I'm gonna say it's cool to use a weed and feed, and that's in the case of this, which is called Bonus S. This is strictly for centipede and really for St. Augustine lawns. So the rest of you can click off the video now and come back next week. I'm just kidding, don't do that. I'm gonna actually show you how to fertilize a lawn. We're gonna do some calculations here. We're gonna do some funky math that you guys always appreciate, and we're gonna actually apply fertilizer and talk a little bit about that, including spreader settings. That's right, spreader settings.
In New York City, they have passed a law prohibiting something called man-spreading.
But before we get there, let's go ahead and talk about this. So this is a product that's available all in the South, and again, this is mainly for St. Augustine, but okay for centipede too. And the biggest reason we're using this is because it contains atrazine. So you can see here's all the weeds that it controls. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this in the video, but this is not really why I'm applying this actually, because I don't have that many weeds in the lawn. I have a few, but not anything that I need to do a complete weed and feed with to take care. Now I'm actually using this for another reason. So some of you remember that I had Bermuda problems in my last lawn, and actually I had a lot of problems, but Bermuda was one of them, and I tried atrazine and it didn't really work. But what atrazine does do, it's not gonna get rid of the Bermuda in the lawn here, but it will definitely suppress it, slow it down, until I can make another course of action to start addressing that. So that's the one reason right now is I want the atrazine content to kind of stunt or slow down the Bermuda that I've got here invading about 75% of this lawn. And the second reason that I want it is I'm actually using atrazine here as a pre-emergence control, not as post-emergence. Because it does have some residual, it will actually keep other weeds from germinating for a few weeks up to maybe even a couple months. Now, the concentrations that I'm able to get here as a homeowner or in a residential setting, non-licensed, are not as high as what commercial operators can get, but again, I'm still gonna get some residual out of that, which I'm hoping will continue to suppress the Bermuda, but also keep any other weeds that may be lying in wait here from coming in. Who is this on my street? Professional spray unit. Challenge accepted. And then the last thing you want to look at here on this bag is the analysis, which they keep really small, but it is here, and it's a 29010. So we're going to get a lot of nitrogen action out of it. We're also going to get some potassium or some potash content, which actually I could use that. So now we just have to figure out how many pounds per thousand are we going to put down. Now, because this contains a weed control, you can't really adjust this. Typically, you know, I can play with the numbers and I can put down 3 pounds per thousand or 2 or whatever and adjust the in rates. But because this has a weed control in it, I need to get the weed control down at the recommended label rates. So I kind of need to follow what they're telling me. And of course, it's pretty easy to go right over here and see that it covers 10,000 square feet. And for those of you that have been around for at least 2 weeks, remember that I have exactly 10,000 square feet. Of course, the Scots folks are really nice, and they're gonna save me the trouble of having to do math.
All spring you work to get your lawn thick and green.
And you can see they're telling me 3.45 pounds per thousand, or to make my math easy, 3.5 pounds per thousand square feet. So the more astute among you will take that 29 and multiply that by 3.45, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna give us 1 full pound in. That's a lot. That's pretty much the max that I'd wanna put down. But what about the Milorganite? Oh, don't you worry. We're not gonna forget. We're gonna blow this puppy green. We're gonna put down a half rate application of Milorganite next. And actually they're telling me here, typically, you know, a bag of Milorganite covers 2,500 square feet, but this one's labeled Florida 6,000 square feet, so I think they're telling me to back off the rates a little bit anyway. But don't worry, because this is a straight fertilizer product, I can throttle the in rates however I choose. So you see no potash here, right? So that's why I like that stuff to be a supplement. But we do want the organics here. I want the iron. There's a lot of things I want out of this. So we're going to go ahead and put this down at 10 pounds per thousand, which is going to give us half pound in. So 10 pounds per thousand here, which means I have a 10,000 square foot lawn, so I'm gonna need 100 pounds of product. A bag of Milorganite is 36 pounds. Now I'm not gonna need 3 full bags, but 2 isn't enough because 2 would only give me 72 pounds. So I'm gonna need 2 bags and a little bit out of that one. And for those of you that are really good at math, you'll figure out we're gonna get a full pound of in from the Scott's product and a half pound in from the Milorganite. So we're gonna put down 1.5 pounds in this one application. That's a little bit heavy-handed, but then again, we wouldn't be lawn care nuts if we didn't push the limits. Throw her down! All right, so now the next thing that you guys always ask me about is, okay, Alan, what setting do I put the spreader on? And how do I know how much I'm putting down? And that's where we're gonna have to use some common sense and go by look and go by feel and get back to our property map. Okay, now this is the big gator. He comes from another pond. There's actually a couple in here, but this is the big one. Let's see if I can zoom in on him. Yeah, that's about it. You can't really tell. But that's the big boy over there. So your ultimate goal here, guys, is to get muscle memory, almost like swinging a golf club or riding a bike, to where once you've done this enough times, you know what it feels like. But until then, let's go back to our property map. All right, so the first area that we're gonna do is this section right here. This is section 3, and section 3 is 2,500 square feet. So we go back to our bag here, and we realize we're putting down 3.45 pounds per thousand, and we've got 2,500 or 2.5. So I take 2.5 and I multiply it by 3.45, and what do I get?
3.45 by 2.5 is 8.62500.
8.62500. So we need 8.65 pounds of this bonus S to go on this 2,500 square foot area. So you can go ahead and weigh that out if you want. Use a kitchen scale, use a luggage, whatever, something that you use to measure how heavy fish are when you catch them. I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? Me, I'm just going to use some common sense. If I need basically 8.5 pounds, and this bag is 34 pounds, 8 goes into 34, what, like 4 times, right? It's pretty almost perfect. So then that means I need 1/4 of that bag to go ahead and do this section right here. So most of you that do any kind of DIY work or whatever, you can pretty much eyeball 1/4 of a bag, right? Sure you can. The other thing to keep in mind though is when you do pour in a little more, because it's when you get down to the bottom here, you're not gonna have an even application. So pour in just a little bit more than you think. So go 1/4 plus a little bit. How's that for precision, huh? 1/4 plus a little bit. Throw her down! All right, so let's stop here and talk a little bit about spreader settings. You guys always ask me, what number do I put my spreader on? And I got a Scott's this and a Earthway that. What I need you to understand is more importantly what that's set on is that your walking speed and your overlap are gonna dictate how much fertilizer is put down. Not so much the setting. The setting is just a drop rate, but you can adjust your walking speed to accommodate in any way you wish. So you can walk faster, which means then you would want more product falling out, or you can walk slower, which means you would want less product falling out. Hence the reason you can adjust this. And those drop holes will open and close accordingly. What I tell you guys to do is set it in the middle somewhere, or even a little less than the middle, and then just keep an eye out on the product as it flows. Realize that I've got, you know, my 8 pounds in here, and it's gonna cover this 2,500 square feet, right? I just watch it flowing out, and then I realize where I am in relationship to the area that I'm treating. This is another reason why I tell you when you measure your lawn, it's important to put your feet in it to understand how far is 25 feet? How big does this 2,500 square foot feel like? And then once you know what it feels like to walk that area with that overlap, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, then you can see the fert going down and you can visualize it and be logical. Use the senses that you were given. Use those senses to understand where you're at and what you're doing and really connect with your ground.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights.
Alright y'all, this video is getting a little bit long and I actually think it might be kind of boring for a lot of you, but we need to cover this. So this is the area that I'm working on. It's 2,500 square feet. This is where the palm tree is, the driveway's over here, and the house and all that, and then there's a sidewalk right there. So at 2,500 square feet, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my edge guard, or what they call it here is side spread control. And what that allows me to do is do a proper edging pass here around the edges. And so that's the first thing you do. It's called a trim pass. So a trim pass does a couple of things. The first thing it does is, yes, it allows you to get right up to the edges without getting fert all over your sidewalk, or in this case out in the street. The second thing it does though is it allows you to create those beautiful domination lines if this borders a neighbor, which in this case it doesn't, but if it did, that's how you can have that nice straight domination line. And then the third thing it does is it allows you to have a proper pass to throw back into. So we want to have it nice and clean to the edge, but as we do the next passes, you're going to see we're going to throw back into it, or when we come to an end run like up here, we can throw into that end run and shut off early without having to overspray. Now, the other thing I always tell you is walking speed. Walking speed should be putting some ass into it, and what that means is, look at me here. Can you see that swaddle right there? That is putting some ass into it. It's a double fast walk.
Okay, so let's do a quick review. So the first thing we did was our trim pass that you can see here. I came all the way around, and now I'm doing my first full pass. And what you'll see is I'm throwing back to the wheel marks of the trim pass. Now the trim pass was right up against the sidewalk. Then the next pass back, I'm throwing back to the wheel marks of the previous pass there. And so on and so forth. Always minding my walking speed and making sure I'm continually doing that double fast walk.
Now let's go back to spreader settings. If that seems daunting, what I want you to do is put your setting on an extremely low setting, and I want you to practice with the Milorganite first, because Milorganite is goof proof. So if you put too much down or not enough, I don't really care. So start on a super low setting. And when I say a low setting, I mean like one of the beginning settings where hardly anything comes out. Make your full passes back and forth this way, and then like I show you in this clip, take the rest and go back and forth this way. Okay, now here's the next level tip here. I filled this back up, but let's just say you had some left over and you finished your pass and you went this way. And what you want to do is turn this way down. Turn it on a low setting and then walk the opposite way. Go this way. What that'll do is it'll keep you from making any stripes or lines with too thick or thin a fert. So you went that way, you realized you had some left over, go ahead and put it on a low setting and go the opposite way, and that way you'll cover yourself and keep everything as even and consistent as possible until you learn what it feels like to get it all down in one single lap. That way you've done a nice little light pass this way, and then a nice little light pass this way. And that's going to go ahead and keep things as consistent as possible, but also allow you to develop that muscle memory and understand that flow rate, so that eventually you'll be able to cover this without doing the double pass. You'll just be able to go up and back in one single fluid application, get in, get on, get out, get off.
I don't know, I'd say that's pretty close.
Pretty decent. Okay, I'm pretty tired right now, but some of you who are smart will remember that I was supposed to have a little bit left over in one of the bags, right? Don't worry, don't worry. My application was perfect, look. It's all right there, see it? So you might be thinking, all right, so what are you gonna do? You've already poured it out, are you gonna put it back in the bag? And the answer is, heck no. I'm gonna throw her down on a domination line, boys. And then the last thing is I want to show you the leftover Milorganite circle dance that I know that we all do. Because what do you do when you have just a little bit left over? What do? You do this, the circle dance. I know you do this, don't act like you don't. go, boys. So there you go, guys. I hope that this video has been helpful to you and a little bit of fun. And as always, I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Leave your comments and questions below, and I'll see you in the lawn.
Thank you.